Lucas, my husband's son, arrived at our house. What began as a simple family gesture turned into a tale of desire, secrets and choices I can never undo, between forbidden glances, tensions impossible, tournure and the unexpected. Intervention of Sophia, my husband's sister. My life took a turn I never imagined. Hello, darling. I'm not sure how you found your way here, but I know you won't be leaving anytime soon. This story isn't like the others. It will make you feel, think, and desire more than you ever imagined. Get ready, your emotions might just spiral out of control. My life seemed like a calm river, but everything changed. The day Lucas called his father. My name is Emma, a 55-year-old housewife in San Diego. I am married to Daniel, a hardworking man who owns a private transportation company and spends more time away from home than with me. When Daniel told me Lucas needed to stay with us for a while after his divorce, I agreed without much thought. After all, he was his son. What could go wrong? The day he arrived, I was caught off guard. I hadn't seen Lucas in years, and the boy I remembered was now a man in every sense of the word, tall self, assured with a gaze that seemed to see right through me. Thanks for having me, Emma, he said with a smile that stirred an unfamiliar restlessness inside me. I didn't know then that his arrival would mark a turning point in my life. Lucas wasted no time settling in. His energy filled every corner of the house, a strong yet subtle presence that night. During dinner, he spoke about his divorce with a calmness that surprised me. It was as if the weight of the situation didn't affect him at all. As he spoke, I couldn't help but watch him. His gestures, his steady voice, the way his eyes met mine whenever he answered my questions. You have a different air about you, Lucas, I said without thinking. He responded with a smile, and you haven't changed at all, Emma, you are just as elegant as ever. That phrase, seemingly innocent, left a mark on me. With Daniel away, most of the time the dynamics at home shifted. The next morning, I decided to spend my time cleaning and rearranging some furniture. Lucas was in the kitchen making breakfast when I asked for his help. Can you give me a hand with this cabinet? It's heavier than it looks. He agreed with a smile and came over immediately as we pushed it together. Our hands brushed a brief contact, but enough to make my heart race when we finished. I noticed his gaze lingering on me, intense as if trying to decipher something. Thanks for your help, I said, trying to sound natural. But something inside me had changed that night. I had trouble sleeping. I could feel his presence in the room next door, and though I tried to ignore it, thoughts of him invaded my mind. I got up to get a glass of water, and as I passed through the hallway, I heard music. Coming from his room, the door was slightly ajar, and I could see him sitting on the bed writing in a notebook. He looked so focused, so detached from everything that I felt like an intruder for a moment, but I couldn't look away. There was something hypnotic about him, an energy that drew me, in a way I didn't understand. I quickly walked away, but that image stayed with me. Days passed, yet the tension between us only grew stronger. One afternoon, as Lucas was working out in the backyard, I stepped outside with a glass of lemonade. He was shirtless, and the sweat traced every muscle of his body when I offered him the glass. Our eyes locked again. Thank you, Emma, he said, his voice carrying a tone that left me speechless. My cheeks flushed and I hurried back into the house, but deep down I knew this wasn't just my imagination. Something was happening between us, something unspoken, but impossible to ignore. That night, as I was cleaning the kitchen, Lucas walked into put something in the fridge. Need any help? He asked, stepping closer. The necessary. No need, I am almost done, I replied, but he didn't move. I could feel his presence behind me, the warmth of his body so close it was hard to focus. When I finished, I turned to say something, but his eyes met mine, unwavering. Emma, "I really appreciate everything you've done for me," he said softly for a moment. Time seemed to stop, but before I could respond, he stepped away with a smile. That night, it became clear to me that the line between the permissible and the forbidden was about to be crossed. Do you feel it? The tension is just beginning, and what's coming next will change. Everything. If you are captivated by this tension, comment on what you think will happen next, and subscribe. Now I promise, what's ahead will make you think, and keep you on the edge of your seat. Do you dare follow this story to its end? Later that afternoon, while I was cleaning the living room, Sophia, Daniel's sister, called. "I am stopping by for a visit." "It's been ages since we've had a good chat," she said excitedly. Her visits weren't unusual, but something about her tone made me feel this one would be different. By the time she arrived, Lucas was home. He opened the door just as Sophia was stepping inside. "Lucas, you've grown so much. I almost didn't recognize you," she exclaimed, pulling him into a hug that lingered a couple of seconds too long. He smiled, slightly uncomfortable, yet as charming as ever from that moment. I sensed the atmosphere shifting into something I couldn't quite place after the greetings we sat in the living room. Sophia always carried herself with confidence, but today she seemed particularly at ease as we talked. She directed comments at Lucas that seemed innocent enough but carried undertones I couldn't ignore. "It's incredible how much you've changed, Lucas. You must be driving the girls at your gym wild," she said, her gaze fixed on him. He chuckled modestly, shifting slightly in his seat, clearly both flattered and uneasy by her attention. I tried to steer the conversation elsewhere, but Sophia kept dropping subtle remarks that maintained the charged air in the room. Eventually, she suggested opening a bottle of wine. "It's been so long since we've had a proper family evening," she said, pouring, the glasses nervous but not wanting to seem out of place. I agreed, and Lucas accepted his glass with a smile. As we drank, the conversation turned more personal, more intimate. Sophia had a knack for steering topics into uncomfortable yet captivating territory. At one point, she turned to Lucas, directly asking, "How do you handle so much attention from your clients?" He laughed, attempting to deflect, but Sophia pressed on with that body. "I wouldn't be surprised if many of them want more than just your training advice." Lucas responded with a casual comment, but I noticed how his eyes darted toward Manias. If gauging my reaction, words began to mix with glances, and the room seemed to shrink around us. Sophia stood from the couch and moved to sit beside Lucas. "It's incredible how life changes people," she said, placing a hand on his shoulder. Lucas looked surprised but didn't pull away from the other side of the room. He tried to interject. "Sophia always so direct," I said, with a nervous smile. But she wasn't about to stop. She turned home and extended a hand. "Emma, come here. I don't bite." I approached slowly, trying to keep my composure, sitting down on Lucas's other side. I noticed Hi's expression shift. He looked caught between us, confused, intrigued, and maybe even a little tempted. The air thickened, becoming intimate, almost suffocating. Sophia, with her usual confidence, began, joking about how we'd always been a team. "Emma and I have always known how to share things, haven't we?" Her words struck a chord deep within me, igniting something I had been holding back for far too long. I didn't even realize eyes when I gave in, but my body moved toward them on its own, my breathing quickening, my thoughts clouded by desire. I reached the couch, my heart pounding like a drum in my ears. Sophia smirked mischievously and leaned in to kiss Lucas, her lips soft but full of challenge. He returned the kiss, though his gaze kept flickering to me when he sat beside him. The brief touch of my hand on his was enough to make him turn to me. In that instant, the barrier between us shattered. Our lips met with a wild intensity one had never known. It was primal, unrestrained, a release of everything we had been holding back. Lucas's hands roamed my body urgently, while Sophia, with a disarming confidence, orchestrated each movement, every touch, The living room, a place of countless family gatherings, became a chaotic symphony of tangled bodies, ragged breaths, and whispered desires. Lucas was the center of it all, his strong, hands exploring every inch of skin they found. My back arched as his lips grazed my neck, the sensation heightened by Sophia's touch, which added an unexpected layer of intensity to the moment. The rhythm was frenetic raw, each movement driven by an urgency that felt unstoppable. Every sound escaping our lips was a silent confession, a testament to the fact that we were surrendering entirely to something forbidden, something irreversible. Do you see how far the story has come, and yet this is only the beginning of something far more intense like this? If you can't look away from the tension, comment on the most surprising part. And subscribe. Now what happens next won't just shock you, it will change everything. After that night, the atmosphere in the house shifted. Sophia quickly began showing signs of discomfort during breakfast as we sipped our coffee. Her words were carefully chosen, her gaze avoiding both mine and Lucas's. "I think I'll stay at a hotel next time I visit San Diego," she said, with a nervous laugh that barely concealed her unease. I simply nodded, trying to maintain my composure, but inside I knew she was grappling with something she couldn't handle. Lucas, on the other hand, seemed more at ease than ever. His confidence had only grown since. That night, later that afternoon, as I was organizing boxes in the garage, Sophia approached me. "Emma, can we talk?" she asked, her tone serious, her face a mixture of conflicting emotions. "I don't know how that happened," she began. "It was intense, but I can't get it out of my head. This is wrong, Emma. I can't keep coming here as if nothing happened." Sophia's words were a whirlwind of guilt and regret, yet laced with unresolved desire. I tried to calm her. "Sophia, what happened was out of the ordinary, but it doesn't have to define us. We can leave it behind." But even as I said those words, I knew they were hollow. Nothing about that night could be erased while Sophia wrestled with her guilt. Lucas seemed resolute, determined to relive what had transpired that evening after dinner. He found me in the kitchen washing dishes. "Emma, can we talk?" he asked, stepping closer. With a look I had come to recognize, I set aside what I was doing and followed him into the living room. "I can't stop thinking about you," he confessed, his words bold and unwavering. His honesty hit me like a thunderbolt. For a moment, stood in silence, searching for air response that wouldn't come. "Lucas, this can't keep happening," I said, trying to sound firm, but with the confidence he'd grown into. He stepped closer. "You know, this isn't just physical," he said, his voice steady. "I feel it every time we're near each other." His words made me falter again. The next day, Sophia decided to leave earlier than planned. "Thank you for everything, Emma," she said, giving me a quick hug. Her eyes were full of emotion, but she didn't say anything more. Lucas saw her off with a smile, as if everything was perfectly fine. But I knew Sophia wouldn't be coming back any time. Soon her departure left a void in the house, but it also brought a strange sense of relief. It felt as though her absence gave Lucas more freedom to approach me without the weight of her presence. That night, as I sat in the living room with a book, Lucas walked in and sat beside me. "Emma, I know you are struggling with this, but I need you to hear me," he said, his tone more serious than usual. His sincerity was disarming. I don't know how to explain it, but since I've been here, I feel something I've never felt before. I don't want this to end. His words were a mix of confession and plea, still trying to hold myself together. I replied, "Lucas, this has to stop. Daniel trusts us. This would ruin everything." Yet, even as I spoke, I could feel my resolve crumbling. That same night, as I lay in bed trying to sleep, I heard footsteps in the hallway. The door to my room creaked open slowly, and there he was, Lucas, with a look that spoke more than words ever could. "I can't stop thinking about you," he whispered, I didn't respond. I stayed silent, caught between desire and guilt. He took a step closer, then another, until he was standing beside my bed. "Just tell me to leave." "And I will," he said, his voice soft, but resolute. But those words never left my lips. Instead, I let him come closer, and in that moment, I knew I had crossed the line once again. My body had made its decision. Long before my mind could catch up, I didn't stop him as he moved closer. I could feel his warmth even before he touched me, and when his hands CD my face, the world ceased to exist. The first touch of his lips was a spark igniting, something uncontrollable within me. His mouth moved with a mix of urgency and tenderness, unraveling every defense I had. I surrendered my hands instinctively, seeking his body, feeling the hard contours of his muscles beneath my fingers. Lucas didn't take long, Talit passion. Take the lead. His hands roamed my skin, sliding along my neck, and down with a firm touch that sent shivers through me when he lowered me onto Thebes. The weight of his body pressed against mine, trapping me in a pleasure. I didn't want to escape his mouth, explore every inch of my skin with a devotion that left me breathless. His hands were strong and deliberate, each caress setting me ablaze. I couldn't hold back, the sounds escaping my lips as rhythm grew hungrier, more intense when our bodies finally became one. It was as if everything we had suppressed erupted. At taunts there was no room for hesitation, only the consuming desire that overtook us. My breath mingled with his each movement, drawing responses from me that I couldn't control in that moment. Nothing else existed. His body pressed against mine, his hands marking every inch of my skin, his whispers brushing against my ears. It was wild and freeing, a whirlwind. I didn't want to escape. What would you have done in my place? Subscribe, because this isn't the end. The inevitable has only just begun. A few days later, Daniel returned from his tripex hosted, but in good spirits as always. His smile filled the house with a sense of calm that felt almost cruel. Couldn't look at him without feeling the weight in my chest as he talked about work and the new contracts he was negotiating. All I could think about was what had happened in his absence. Is Lucas settling? "And well?" he asked sincerely. I nodded, forcing myself to stay composed. Lucas, sitting casually on the living room couch, answered smoothly, "Yeah, everything's great. Dad, thanks for letting me stay here." His tone was so natural that for a moment I wondered if he was handling this secret far better than I was. Sophia had called since she left weeks past. Without a word,